Welcome to Bound to Shift, the inspiring book chat in conjunction with the Shift Sisters podcast. Here, we explore transformative stories and powerful books designed to support you through life's inevitable shifts. Whether you're navigating change, seeking growth, or looking for fresh perspectives, our curated selections are crafted to inspire development and ignite your inner strength. Join us as we dive into heartfelt conversations, meaningful insights, and practical tools to help you embrace change with courage and confidence. Because when you are bound to shift, every chapter becomes an opportunity for renewal and transformation. Let's embark on this empowering journey together. Hello and welcome, Shifties. Welcome, friends. Thank you so much for joining us on this next episode of the Shift Sisters Bound to Shift book chats. I am Sandra and I have my mystic mama here, Jennifer. Yay. And we will continue to explore our book, The 13 Original Clan Mothers by Jamie Sams. And this moon cycle, we are focusing on the sixth moon, which is June's moon. And the clan mother for this moon cycle is Storyteller. This is one of my favorite episodes or chapters. It just speaks to my education heart when I read the chapter and all the little children are sitting around listening to the story. I'm like, oh, that's a special place to be. So I'm looking forward to jumping into that. And as we know, with each of our moon cycles and our moon mamas, as we like to call them, there is a color associated with that moon mother, and we're wearing it today. So red is the color of the moon. Ooh, I love those. What are those? Are they any
They're
like?
little koi fish.
Those are great. Oh, I love them. Nice,
You know where
nice. Tell
anyways, go
me.
ahead. I'll tell you where
Oh,
I found
that's
them later.
okay. So red is our moon, is our color for this moon cycle. And before, I always like to take a dive into the meanings of the color red. But before I give you some of those, I like to just explore it. So, Jennifer, when you think of red, what comes to you? What feelings? What thoughts? What comes to you when you think of red?
It's super weird because I'm a fire sign, right?
Yeah.
I'm an Aries and Taurus and all of these special signs in there that make everything fiery and feisty. And red makes me very uncomfortable and disgruntled.
Wow.
And red can, just like with anything, right, has a positive and a negative depending on which path you choose, right? And so red can be passion and just intensity with love and all sorts of things. But I don't know why it makes me like nauseous in my stomach,
Wow.
really down low. So I don't know if I have this weird association with it, with like Linda, my mother, and
Okay.
something growing up. Like, I feel like there's some weird link that I'm not quite aware of that makes
Mhm.
me really not like red. Now, I'll wear it in accents.
Sure.
I just don't like it in my clothing.
Interesting. We have
Mhm.
to dive deep into this because remember in the other episode, I had told you about my highlight yellow
Mhm.
shirts that
Mhm.
it looks good. There isn't anything wrong with it, but I put it on and I have this like reaction to it.
Mhm.
And it's just, uh, you and I, Jennifer, have talked about the frequency of fabric and how
Oh,
important that
yes.
is. So I'm wondering, to dive deeper into the frequency of color
Mhm.
or, associations or all of this. So this is opening up a whole can of worms for
It
me.
really is. And like, I love red in nature. I love it
Mhm,
on you. Like, when
mhm.
you wear red lipstick, it's always like the ticket. It's a
Yeah.
powerhouse thing. But yeah, when it's on my body, it makes me feel like I shrink
It's
as a person. Mhm.
wow. For me, red has the opposite effect. When I put on red, I feel like I'm about 8 feet tall. I
Mm.
feel very confident. Um, I don't necessarily wear a red lip like as my everyday, but when I wear it, I'm like I'm commanding
I
attention. Or
love it.
yeah,
Yes.
I just feel very different. And what's interesting, and when we get into this chapter, it
Mhm.
talks about passing down stories and how the DNA has the stories and things.
Mm-hmm.
And not that this is a big deal, but it does remind me, my mother and I, my mother looks really great in red lipstick, and she
Mm-hmm.
stands a little taller with it. So it's funny how you mentioned Linda and your
Mm-hmm.
association with red. And for me, when I think of red, I think of her. And I think about how she kind of, in her little 5 foot self, like, yeah, I feel great in this. So it's just so interesting to get the reactions of what the color red does for you.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, with the DNA link, oh my gosh. Ugh.
We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get
Okay.
it. All right, so let's talk about some significant spiritual symbolism across cultures that the color red is associated with.
Mm-hmm.
So, one is vitality and life force. It symbolizes energy, strength, and passion, often representing the life force presented within all beings. Huh, life force.
Maybe like our blood, kind of.
Oh,
Is our life
sure,
force?
sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Courage and power. So, just how I feel when I wear my red lipstick. Red
Mm-hmm.
is linked to bravery, confidence, assertiveness, inspiring inner strength and boldness. I could
Mm-hmm.
feel that. Love and desire. It's a color of love, romance, and deep emotional connections, symbolizing passionate affection. I do want to speak on this because I've always, when Valentine's Day comes along and you get the red roses, I always thought that that was just such a farce. I never felt connected to the
Mm-hmm.
redness of like flowers or and love.
Mm-hmm.
um and I know that's kind of a global kind of
Symbol.
association with
Yeah.
the
Because I
color.
think of green when I think of love.
Oh, really?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I
Not
think,
always,
right.
but
Like
recently.
in our past clan mother, like the all pastels, like that
Mm-hmm.
softness reminds me of love, but red feels too
Mm-hmm.
sharp and too
Mm-hmm.
strong and too in your
Mm-hmm.
face.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's
The
my,
passionate type of love.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it also represents protection and warding off of evil. I have not heard of this. So in some cultures, red is believed to offer protection against negative energies and evil spirits. I've noticed, and I don't know which culture does this, but they wear the red, like they wear the red bracelet made out of, it's like string or something, and then if
Hmm.
it breaks, it means that there was something happening. So I've seen that. I have to look into that a
Oh
little bit
yeah, you
more.
have to look
So
that up.
yeah. Transformation and change. Red can signify transformation, like changing of seasons or personal growth. Very nice. The interpretation can vary upon cultural context. For example, in Chinese tradition, red is a symbol of good fortune and happiness, while in spiritual practice like chakra energy work, red corresponds to the root chakra, representing grounding and stability.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, so shifties, I encourage you to think about the color red and what does it conjure up for you? What
Mm-hmm.
associations do you have with it? Obviously, we're going to go into blood later on, and the
Mm-hmm.
bloodline and DNA and how that affects some of our storytelling abilities. But I always love doing this little dive into the colors because I always feel like I learned something new.
Yeah, I think, yeah, we're gonna have to really keep exploring the color portion of things.
Absolutely. So, as always, before we get into our chat, I always like to start off with the reading of the Clan Mother's poem. So, Jennifer,
Hmm.
if you wouldn't mind just taking a read of that poem.
Absolutely. A storyteller. Tell me a story, sweet mother, of the ancestors and their days, of how they walked with beauty, learning the medicine ways. As you relate to the stories, I am allowed to see the importance of every lesson and how it applies to me. Through another's example, I share the laughter and the tears. Through another's experience, I learn how love can conquer fear. Together, we can journey through those other times, reclaiming all the wisdom of the legacies left behind.
Hmm. Yeah, I really am excited because this chapter just speaks to some of the inner wisdoms that I think we all hold without knowing we hold these wisdoms. You just told me before this call, um, we were talking about, myself and my thoughts about not having biological children, and you had said in many different aspects and worlds you had children, and
Mhm,
I mother in a different way.
mhm,
And I feel that I do have that ability. And obviously, it's something that has been passed through me and
Mhm.
also something that I've acquired and it's in my DNA. So I love this chapter and how we can explore how some of those wisdoms and truths are passed on to us. And our ancestors are not just our parents and our grandparents, right? So it's really thinking about what are those strengths that we have that
Mhm.
were just passed on to us. So it's really beautiful. So, Storyteller and her moon cycle are connected to the color red because blood is red. The wisdom of all human ancestors and their lessons are coded in the DNA of blood. In traditional Indian medicine, the blood has always been acknowledged as the river of life that flows through our bodies, allowing us to call in the knowing held by the wise elders who came before us. So, this connection to ancestry, how does the idea that blood containing the wisdom of our ancestors influences your understanding of heritage and personal identity?
Well, it's really woo-woo answer,
Mm-hmm.
but I had never really thought much about it actually, and I was having I've had some different like Akashic Records readings, I've had medium readings, I've
Mm-hmm.
had just different spiritual things of information shared with me additional to my own, experiences and knowing and knowledge. Um and one of the things that came up in my Akashic Records that really made me think, it was talking about, well, actually, a couple things. Talking about something so long ago back in, was it pagan? Remember?
Yes, there's pagan. Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Pagan days, there was a man in the lineage of our family who behaved a certain way towards women and towards himself to hide his gifts and abilities, right?
Mhm.
Because at that time, oh no, it wasn't pagan. It was oh my
Yes, with the pilgrims, like during that
well, they're
purists,
yeah,
Puritans,
Puritans, that's what
Puritans.
it was. I was
Sorry,
like, they're
sorry.
perfectionists or something. Yes. Puritan days where
Yes.
everybody had to be pure, right? And if you
Mhm.
had any type of psychic abilities or intuitiveness or connected to source in any way, you weren't pure. You were a witch and you were scolded and treated horribly and you were killed or whatever. Well, he had all those abilities. So he hated himself and he hid them.
Mhm.
And he treated women horrifically, the way he talked to them and all of the things. Well, that energy and that lineage and that belief continued apparently for hundreds of years through our lineage, and they basically were bringing it up as to where, like, I'm the first one to have put my foot down
Yeah.
and start changing things, and that I could even go back spiritually
Mm.
to kind of reconcile that with him to clear it up almost in our DNA lineage.
Mm.
So for me, that was like, what? I got to think about that for a minute. That's pretty interesting. And then all of my medicine women in my heritage came through to say how all of the things that I do with like the homestead and the farming and the herbalism and all of the stuff that I am so interested in and called to, because I feel it in my body. I see its benefits. I see its purposes. And this has been for the last like 12 years and it's just
Sure.
continued to grow. They came and were like, this was almost lost in our lineage until you have reignited it, and we are supporting you and we are helping you, like you don't understand how important it is. And I have never thought about lineage. I'm like, I came from a
Yes.
trashy dysfunctional home. I don't want to associate with any of them. I'm starting my own lineage. I'm starting over from scratch. I'm breaking old barriers and chains. And here, come to find out, hundreds and hundreds of years of lineage is still connected to me in ways that I had never known. And so
Absolutely.
it really makes me think.
I love it because I have to say, I agree with you. I grew up in Harlem, in a very tough circumstance. But as I said earlier, that's my ancestors are not just where I grew up and the generation before that, right? So
Mhm.
I cannot tell you how many times in my life that comments were made of, she's so young, but she's so mature. Or how does she feel that, or whatever it is that had come up for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even thinking about my approach to wellness, which is very natural. I don't want to take conservative approaches, and I want to hear about, the acupuncture and the herbs, and I want to hear about, a kind of revering the moon cycle to see when I need to
Mm-hmm.
do certain things, because there's something about that feels so authentic.
Yes, that's exactly what the word is that I was going to say for you is authentic. You want
Yes.
to have an authentic approach to everything.
Absolutely. And, I get a lot of flack because I will be in pain and it's just like, take an Advil. No, there's a different way to do this. Maybe I'm dehydrated. Maybe I need a nap. Maybe I need to, find a
Mhm.
different way. And when I think about, memories of my grandmother taking a leaf and her knowing exactly what that leaf was and breaking it to extract the liquid to pour into my ear when I had an ear infection,
Yes.
like, that to me is incredibly powerful, and there is something that I want to preserve with that and learn more and use for my life.
Mhm.
And so I feel like I definitely, to answer this question, there's just so many moments in my life where I say to myself, this didn't come from, the Sandra that grew up and, where she did, because this is beyond that. This is a wisdom that has been passed on to me that I cannot share with you in terms of where
Yep.
I picked it up. It's just something that
Mhm.
is in me and in my DNA, really.
Yep.
So, so fascinating. So, storytelling and memory, what role does stories and oral tradition play in preserving the lessons contained within our blood? So, when you think about the quote that I read, and it talks about how it was a river and how, the blood is like a river. How do you think that analogy, or just even the quote itself, helps to play in preserving the lessons from past elders?
Well, there's a funny thing that keeps coming to mind that's not all super sentimental and stuff.
That's
But have
okay.
you ever, you know me and my crazy analogies, but have you ever heard the saying, diabetes runs in the family because nobody in the family runs?
No, but that's another shirt. I love that. All
So,
right.
so it's kind of that concept, right? Like those same patterns will run in your river, run in your blood if you don't create new patterns, right? And they can be there for knowledge and wisdom. Some of them do not need to be activated for your life at this
Yeah.
time. Some of them are
Mhm.
not a fit or appropriate, and some of them need to be redesigned and revamped for the new future
Yeah.
generations, right? But if you just keep passing down the same old thing every time, right? You're not going to get anything different. You're not going to get evolution and all of these things. And so it's important to know them and appreciate them and hold them dear, just like when we did our ancestry, to find out what family members so long ago were brave enough to get on a ship
Oh,
with children,
yes.
not knowing where the freak they're going to, or if they're going to make it. And they're coming from Germany, and they make it to America, right? And not all of their children survive, and all of these things, like the grit and the sorrow and the motivation and the intensity. There's just so much that goes along with it. And I appreciate it. And no, I don't want to go and flee to another country, but I want to honor their grit and their love for their family and, those kind of things. So,
Oh, I love that. Yes. And when you think about it, even, as a child, and I was listening to stories from, my grandparents' generation, and they would share some of the things that they went through. And I said, I just could never. I would just disintegrate. Right. And this is just a couple of generations back. So I can't even
mhm,
imagine when we start thinking about our ancestors
mhm.
and all that they had to endure.
Mhm.
all that they had to sacrifice and to be able to keep it to all together. And here we are,
Yeah.
right?
So when I do think of them and I think of those things, I try to look at the characteristics that they had, and if that means I have them in here, and I'm like, okay, well then I need to find ways to apply it to my life to, make the meaning and make the best opportunities that I can.
Absolutely. Ooh, that's just it's now I'm in this space of I want to really dig deeper and
Mhm.
learn those stories and
It's
honor
a
those
rabbit hole.
stories. It really is
It really
because
is.
it's and just not to forget. So I think that's a big one.
Yep.
So the metaphor of the river, let's go into that a little bit. So how does describing blood as a river of life shape your view on vitality, flow, and continuity in life and history? I want to speak to that. So when I think of a river, there's also tributaries, right? So like these little kind of water sources that feed into the river and then it can go out to the ocean.
Okay.
And I just think about, everything that contributes to that solid river. So, you marry into another family, right? So that's
Mhm.
a tributary to that. You have children or, something happens to you, something, big or
Mhm.
traumatic, right? Because some of that can also be embedded in your DNA. I read somewhere that as
Yes.
stressed as a mother is during her pregnancy, that
Mhm.
is shared with their baby,
I can so speak to that, and
Oh,
I'll just do a really quick thing so that I
yes.
don't derail everything, but I had some high risk, serious pregnancy things going on. Anyways, way down later, I learned about soul contract, or is it soul contract? No, the body code
Okay.
and the soul contract type thing. My friend who is a molecular biologist, studied all of these things and totally is like this massive healer now. Anyways, she did this emotion code reading and scan, and then she gives you a whole report, right?
Mm,
Well, she did one on me, but she also did one on Ashton. Okay. And this is where I had the big serious stuff from my high risk pregnancy. And I can remember almost to the gestation, like what I was stressed about, what I was feeling about, all of these things. Literally, she could pinpoint stuff on his emotion code that she does not know. They even said, in gestation, at this
oh my
exact
goodness.
date, you got this emotion and it was derived from your mother, right? Or it would even say this emotion was derived from 3 generations back. Yes, it was crazy. It would literally, and when it would say an age for myself or for him or whatever, when it would say an age or a gestation or whatever, it would have an emotion right next to it, which is not just the regular, like happy, sad,
Yes.
joy. They were very specific one word emotions next to an age. And as soon as I seen that word and the age, I could it instantly brought back the memory of what it was. And it would also say if it's yours, or like where it came from. Is it from your
Sure.
father's side, mother's side? How many lineages back? Did it happen during pregnancy? It was crazy because all the crap I was really stressed out about with my health and Ashton's, viability being pregnant was spot on.
My goodness.
Spot
Thank
on.
you for sharing that story because it's something that I feel and I feel very strong about that topic, but I also can't put it into words. So having
Mhm.
that example is just a strong way of just showing that this is a true thing, right?
Yep.
It's passed on.
Mhm.
And all of those things add to the river of your life, right? Of like
Mhm.
these are all the things that affected you and how you came to be. And some of it was not in this generation, it was, way behind. And here
Yep.
it's a mother passing on to the child. So
Yep.
ooh, that gave me chills really. At the I no, I was really tell me again,
Emotion code.
it
It's
was
a great
emotional.
book and it walks you through how to do it all too.
My goodness. Well,
Mhm.
thank you for that. Healing and wisdom. What lessons or wisdoms do you believe are carried within your own blood or DNA? And how might recognizing this influence your approach to personal growth and healing? um, there are times that I have clarity, visions, or dreams that don't, that I discount. And I think I've told you about this, Jen. When I was a child, I can't tell you if it was a dream or an actual waking vision, but I had this vision of a native family, like an
Mhm.
indigenous family. And there was a mom and a dad and a child. And I think it was a boy. And they were grieving heavily. And they were in some sort of plain. There was grassy. It wasn't grassy. It was more like tumbleweedy, like very dry space. And they were grieving a huge loss.
Mhm.
And I'm watching this scene unfold, and they were grieving me. That
Mhm.
was the vision that I had.
Were
And
you taken?
I was killed, or I was no longer, I was dead, but I don't know if it was I
Mhm.
feel like it was violent.
It was, I can see it.
Yeah, and it was,
Mhm.
sudden and violent.
Mhm. Yep.
And
Mhm.
I have always thought about that scene. I must have been 6, 7, or 8 around that
Mhm.
time, like single digit. And
Imagine our last chapter in the horrific story that was told in this chapter of our
oh,
book.
yes,
Very
yes,
similar.
yes, yes, correct. And so that was when I say single, I was in the single digits watching
Mhm.
this, and I was
Mhm.
probably the same age, I would say, right?
Yep.
And so in my adult years, I've tried to kind of revisit that very strong vision. And it was so strong, I was sobbing in my room. And I
Yes.
remember my mom coming in and saying, like, what's wrong? And I couldn't share with her what was going on because it wasn't something I could explain. It was
Mhm.
way bigger than me.
Yeah.
So in my adult years, I have written about it. I have written to them.
Mhm.
I have asked questions. I've created poetry around it. Like I have a whole section of journal writings about finding out who they were or
Mhm.
are in my life. Um, because I also feel like in my life, with all of the twists and turns that I've taken, I've always said, I don't know how to describe it, but I feel like I have those nets when aerialists, they do their
Mhm. That,
performances.
yep.
They take all these risks knowing that there's a net. And my
Mhm.
life is like that. Like
Mhm.
I always feel protected, and I always feel like I will never, sure, I have hurt and grief and pain, but I will never be destroyed
Mhm.
in this world with that support. And I always wonder, are they a source of that? Are they holding me
Mhm.
with that? So,
You're so spot on. I really think so. We were talking about the Orinda and how um they were able to find pieces of her soul and bring her back. I feel like that book that I sent you about 5D, and then that one section in particular that has very specific practices and things, and it talks about literally going into the great mystery to collect your pieces. I feel like, because I feel the sadness of the mother heavy in the eyes when you speak of this. And I could definitely see the incident, but I can see that if you were to do like these practices to collect these pieces of your soul, that you will be met by that mother,
hmm,
and she is waiting to assist. And all of the things you said are I feel them, I see them. I
yeah,
don't think it's just like an assumption. I think you should really hold on to it because
yeah,
it is
yeah.
that.
It's such a powerful force in my life, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't, the question was about healing and wisdom, and I think those are the two things that, with this particular circumstance, that I feel like will continue to come and flow for me.
Mm-hmm.
Healing and
Mm-hmm.
wisdom, because to be six in my room and having that strong vision, but knowing with
Mm-hmm.
my core that this was a true thing. It was just
Mhm.
beyond explanation, and it took
Yeah.
me over 20 years to talk about it.
Yeah.
I just kept it. I just kept it. I just kept it. I just kept it.
Mhm.
And then after some time, I shared it with my dear friend Victor, and I said, I just have to share this because I don't,
Mhm.
I've held it, and he was
Mhm.
so supportive, and so it is definitely something on my life in my
Yeah.
life as just life's work and journey for myself.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into the story of this chapter. So, in this
Okay.
chapter, the storyteller tells a story of how lightning bugs came to be. A star in the sky visiting Earth Mother flew a little too close and with the help of a trickster fox was kept to stay on the earth forever. So, let's talk about lessons from stories. What are some lessons learned by the ordeal of the firefly and the fox? So, what are some that you were able to take away from that, Jen?
Well, curiosity killed the cat, so
Yeah.
they say, right? And you have this little star that forgets to twinkle, that is so curious and, gets himself in a pickle, but it also inspired him to dig deep,
Yeah.
right? To
Yeah.
find his true light, to find his true power, and realize some of your decisions cannot be reversed. It's like trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube, right?
Oh.
Once you say certain things or do certain things, some things cannot be reversed.
Mhm.
But it doesn't mean things have to be ruined or broken. It just might transpire into new experience. And
Yeah.
so that's what I.
Yeah, taking that pivot, right? And now
Mhm.
this is a new species on planet Earth that shows its light. And I think Firefly obviously was given advice from the elders, didn't take that advice.
Mhm.
And there's also consequences for the fox, right? So
Mhm.
he tricks the firefly to come down, chomps him up into his belly, and then he was pelted by the night sky
Mhm.
and heavy rains, hail, and there was all the stormy weather, which frightened him.
Yep.
And now the consequence of his actions was that every time there's a thunderstorm or a storm, he just withers away and he gets really nervous because
Mhm.
obviously that was the way that they were able to free this little lightning bug. So definitely there's lots of it. Once again, when I read this chapter, I thought about, well, when I read to my preschoolers and there's
Mm.
a lesson in all the stories that we read, this was a really sweet one to explore.
Well,
And then thinking about stories that in your life, what
mhm.
overall in general, when you think about stories and storytelling, what's the significance? Why do we tell stories? Why should we continue to tell stories?
Well, they're all lessons to help folks see from other perspectives because it's like teaching someone in a gentle way how to do self reflection.
Yes.
And I thought, and still to my disgruntlement, that self reflection was just a natural thing that everybody does. I do it 24/7. And come to find out, amongst different people in my life, some people have never, and I mean never, done self reflection.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how that's possible.
Mhm.
And then I'm also like, wow, clearly you were not read to enough as a child. No. But, there's a lot to be learned through these lessons in these stories of all kinds. And I think it's really important because it helps to teach self reflection and,
Mhm. Yeah.
through discussion becomes discovery.
I recently started a book chat with my team at work, and
Hmm.
what we do is we use children's books. So we read different children's books. So I was leading the book chat on the days the crayons quit, and someone else read
Love
a
that
book
one.
chat about the family book. And there's even with the children's books, there's so many lessons that me and my team as leaders can pull from.
Hmm.
And we were able to break down some of these concepts into our work, into
Yep.
our approach with employees, with our dynamics within our team. And I think sometimes, we need to incorporate that a little more. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize the power of that book chat with children's books, with
Oh,
all the
yeah.
grown-ups, and what we can take from that. So definitely
Mm-hmm.
teaching lessons, reflection, those are really powerful consequences of reading and having and storytelling, and having that dialogue as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting. This whole chapter has kind of just thrown me for a loop this week because there's so many synchronicities, or
Mm,
this month, but and this week, but like literally there's just something, sincere and deep and happening within my own relationship with somebody that could be handled one of two ways. And I went deep into the storytelling to help them learn the lesson that they needed to see,
yeah.
because it wasn't about being right or wrong. It wasn't about really my feelings or my situation. It was about helping them to see their lessons and their paths. And it's not always my typical route, right? But I had to sit and I really had to reflect on, like, how do I want to approach this? What do I want to get out of this?
Right.
And then when I read this chapter, and I'm like, it almost was like a pat on the back saying, job well done, right? Like,
Mm,
you did what you needed to do, because they need to learn through stories. They need to learn how to find the relationship in is it relationship? The relevance, I guess, within the lesson, and look at it from a different perspective and find a different approach. And so that, and then the firefly talks is crazy because I have had such a passion for fireflies my whole life. And I was researching fireflies and how they mate and what attracts them, because I said, I want to fill my property with fireflies.
amazing.
And then this comes up too. So I'm also like, okay, does that, because I'm like, I'm going to get fireflies here. I'm
I
telling
know
you.
you are.
And then me and you call each other both times this week singing circle time songs like
Yes.
preschool teachers. And I'm like, we're just also in sync with everything.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yes. And it's just so perfect. It just doesn't, the flow and all of that. And I agree with you. I think, when you were talking about the storytelling and giving it a different perspective, storytelling also helps you separate yourself from the emotions, right?
Yes.
Like
Oh,
you're
that's true.
you're not,
Mm.
when you provide a story to really help a person or guide someone,
Mhm.
you are separating the emotion from what they're feeling, and it's this, outside piece that you can now think a little more rational about, and you can
Mm.
now see it for what it is as opposed to actually living it. So it's just such a
Mhm.
great approach, when trying to deal with that level of guidance.
Yeah.
um, all right, wonderful. So in one of the scenes, the storyteller has a dream, and the storyteller becomes the listener. So she's being
Mhm.
essentially read to, or shared with. And a magpie shares with storyteller in this dream the significance of the toucan and how it can alert others of emergencies. And she woke up, storyteller, with this new wisdom. So let's talk about dreams as storytellers. So,
Mhm.
have you ever had a dream or just woke up feeling like you have a deeper understanding of life? Or if you wake up and you're feeling something very deep, but you can't put words to it. But have you ever felt that feeling? Not that you have to remember
Yes.
your dream.
Yes, I feel like I get delivered a lot of wisdom and understanding in a dream.
Hmm.
Even if it's intense, right? Like, you have to explore what's intense about it and why. And um, I don't know, just try to look at it, pulling back and looking at it to see the lessons in all of it instead of the specifics, if that
Mm.
makes sense.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like when you're making art. Everybody feels like they're making shitty art and they just are like, oh, this is so ugly. But if you actually step back and look at it from a further perspective, you can see, oh, wow, it's actually got some different qualities. And, da, da, da. And that's how I kind of review my dreams. and I feel
Yeah.
like I get a lot of wisdom from them.
Yeah, it's I often have this feeling, and I think it's that whole river of life and DNA passage of strengths, because dreams have played a very important, you know, it's played a
Communication
big
piece.
part in my life.
Mhm.
And there are times where I wake up and I am out of breath, nervous, shaky, trying to figure
Mm.
out what rattled me. And then
Oh.
there are other times that I feel like I just slapped on some red lipstick and I'm ready to take on the world, right?
Mm.
And not per se that the dream itself, in terms of what actually happened, was
Mhm.
super significant. It's something that's been downloaded during that
Mhm.
time that I was out of my brain. So
Yep.
I'm not in my brain. I'm not overthinking. I'm not. And I think to myself, I really need to hone back in on meditation practice, because
Mhm.
the stopping of my brain, because I'm just always going, 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 and
Mhm.
sleep, all these things just come.
Yeah.
And I wonder how I can start creating that space
Yeah.
during times of
Awake
non-sleep.
of awakeness. Yeah, I was gonna say I
Yes.
get a lot with my garden walks.
Yes. Yes. And I think I need to, like, I need to find what that thing is. I really
Yeah.
do need to find what that thing is, and
Mhm.
say, okay, this is what I'm going to implement, so I can get more of those downloaded messages,
Yep.
because it's just so super powerful.
Yep.
Oh, I love this point in the book, the importance of humor. A
Oh.
sacred message that was provided by Toucan was a warning of the importance of humor and play.
Mhm.
So, how does humor and play help with the shifts that you are going through?
Oh, I express this so much to my husband, who is a very serious person. And I'm like, we can do anything, even hard things, but it can still be playful and
Yes.
fun. And it makes those hard things memorable in the most weird way, right? So,
Mhm.
like, who cares that we have to go fix a busted fence from a hurricane and,
Yes.
all this jacked up stuff? Like, it's daunting, it's stressful, it's expensive, it's laborsome. There's a lot of things. But if we turn on some jams and get some good drinks and maybe some like cutie outfits to go put the fence up in so you can be flirty at the same
Yes.
time with your husband,
Yes.
friggin' dude, we're just having fun putting this fence together, but we're creating memories
Mm.
and our energy is lighter,
Mhm.
our joy raises, and then the fence becomes stronger because it's being put together with such different passion, right? Instead of anger and aggression. And it just changes the entire outcome and experience for everyone. And
Oh,
you remember more
oh, yes.
if you can learn anything in a fun way.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I really cherish, and he doesn't think this, because I'm always like, stop it. And so, stop playing around so much and stop being so light. It's my husband
Mhm.
who just loves everything and wants to do
Yeah.
things in like a light-hearted, funny, like he's constantly laughing and he's constantly trying to find the humor in things.
Mhm.
And even when he went through his battle with cancer, he was like, yeah, we got this. And just very, like, he was making jokes with the doctor. And I'm like,
Mhm.
this is not a time for joking. We are serious. We're taking this serious. And I think to myself, holy shit, Sandra, like, that's how he healed. That's
Mhm.
how he was able to overcome this.
Yeah, without
And
fear.
oh
Mhm.
my goodness. And I am in such awe and reverence of that, and saying, like, I'm so sorry that you had to deal with me and my
Mhm.
like, my nerves and my anxiety around all of it. But it really just shows the importance of living life in a way that um just it's uplifting. It uplifts you,
Mhm.
because I've met the opposite of people who see everything, even the positive, as a negative.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
just can't live in that
Yep.
burdened place of just
Mhm.
heaviness. And I was watching a video recently and it was talking about that life has no meaning, and you, the protagonist of your life, puts meaning on those things.
That's so funny. I used to say, um, life is black and white and we add the color. And
Yes.
it sounds like that.
Absolutely. And
Mhm.
it's, for me, when he was diagnosed, I immediately went to the dumps. And he was like, "Oh, this is another challenge and I'm going to kill it. Like I'm going to just take care of this and we're going to keep on with our lives." And I think about that a lot now of
Mhm.
even with the challenges, what's the pivot on that?
Yeah.
What's the other way of looking at it? And how can we inject some humor and play in that?
Yep.
Because that just makes life so much more fun.
It does, and it
Mhm.
makes those relationships deeper, just like, in one of the episodes back that we were talking about in Protect Your Peace, we were
Mhm.
talking about vulnerability and honesty, right? Like
Yeah.
deepens your relationship. And it's the same thing. So does that humor and playfulness, not to be dismissive of something,
Absolutely.
right?
Right.
Still keep its seriousness and understand its gravity, but have fun with it.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. So I need to figure out how I'm going to inject all the play, and you might get some more voice notes of me singing preschool
I'll take
songs,
it. Hello, hello,
But
hello, and how are you? No.
I'm fine. I'm fine. I hope that you are too. Oh my goodness. Listen, we could do this all day,
We
girl.
could have a preschool concert, no practice.
Preschool karaoke. Whoa, whoa,
Preschool. Oh
whoa.
my God, wouldn't that you should
Oh, girl, that's a whole
Oh, that is
we got to get focused.
I love that.
Yes.
I love preschoolers.
Wonderful. So, my last question is, you as an inner storyteller, do you
Mhm.
see yourself as a storyteller? If so, what stories do you feel compelled to share and why?
Mm,
Girl,
interesting.
I
I
am a
feel like
I'm a
I'm a
storyteller. Can I just
yeah,
answer
I'm
this
like I'm a
question?
referencer, but I guess that would be a storyteller because I reference parts of books all the time. So I
Mhm.
guess yes, in a sense. Um, and I have learned to really be heavy on analogies because that's the only way Adam has ever been able to understand the relevance and the connection to certain things
Sure.
because of his lack of development of self-reflection until the last like 4 or 5 years. But yeah, I had to do it through stories and analogies.
Girl, I am a storyteller. I love telling stories. I that it is a fact in my family and in my friends that they know, like, first, if there's a story to tell, let Sandra say it. And number
Mhm.
two, because I get into it, I'm just
Oh,
like,
yes.
oh yeah, so this is how it happened. And I don't I try to build up the punchline,
Oh, yeah.
I do all of that. So I love storytelling, and I love doing it for community. Like, I
Yeah.
think it's just really fun to
Yep.
get together and just tell stories. We
Yep.
don't do this as a community enough.
Yeah.
I want to hear about how you met your husband. I want to hear
Yes.
about, the most wonderful time in your life. I want to hear
Mhm.
about the worst restaurant you ever eaten at and what happened when you went there. And it's just so,
Yeah, I guess I am a storyteller then.
yes,
I'm like, I
yes,
do all that.
yes, you are.
Even, like, with Charlotte, like, I try to teach her different lessons through stories so that she doesn't have to experience trauma to learn those lessons kinda
Girl,
thing.
yes. Yes. So, absolutely, and I am so pumped up about this,
Mhm.
topic and storytelling and the importance of it, because it just does so much. It lets, people continue to live on. Like, I love telling
Mhm.
stories about my sister and
Yes.
just sharing, some of the things about her, because it just it warms my heart, but it also, it's almost like, it's bringing her back and
I was
having
gonna
her
say it makes
participate
you
in that.
feel
Yeah.
connected, yeah. Mhm.
So, as I go into, as we end this chapter, I'm going to invite our listeners to engage in this. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to maybe build back a community of storytelling and figure out,
Mm-hmm.
how we can do that in our through our forum here.
Yeah.
So as we conclude this chapter, let's remember the role of the storyteller as a keeper of wisdom. She keeps tradition and she holds community. Stories
Mm-hmm.
are more than just mere words. They're sacred vessels that carry the lessons of our ancestors, the heartbeat of our culture, and the hope for future generations. Whether shared around a fire, or through song, or through quiet reflections, stories connect us to our roots and inspire us to live with greater awareness and compassion. May we honor the storytellers in our lives and recognize the sacred powers we all hold and share to be true. May we create new narratives and keep the ancient wisdoms alive. Woo! Love that. So shift activation time.
Okay.
So this is an invitation. This is a time for us to take this chapter and to explore it in a different way and really help us connect with that storyteller within us. So here are some invitations that I'd like to share that you can participate in. So, number one, personal story sharing. So, take time to reflect and write or share a personal story that has taught you a valuable lesson. Consider how your story connects to your cultural or spiritual roots and lessons passed down through the generations. I'm already like thinking through all the different stories
Mm-hmm.
that I can share. So this one is I really hope we can get this started with our community here. So what the second one is, create a family or community oral tradition, or I wanted to call it an open mic. So start a
Mm-hmm.
practice of recording or telling stories within your family or your community, and that could be the Shift Sisters podcast community.
Mm-hmm.
And this could be through a storytelling night or writing a family history or recording stories, however you'd like to do it. So Shifties, I am inviting you to go on to our social media and share your story. So it could be a video, it can be an audio, it can be a written story, it could be anything that you would like it to be. But we want to hear your stories. We want to know about that time, as I mentioned earlier, that you had a bad meal at a restaurant or anything. Just share the story that you feel compelled to share. Jen, do you?
I tell you all the time, you blow my mind, but like always.
Oh.
But this is so sentimental to me, and this also really helps provide a solution for me because I always strongly try to encourage my husband and
Mm,
all of his family to share stories about themselves and about their life with my children because that's how you connect with people. And that's also stuff that you take with you in your life and how you see other people as human.
mm.
And like for Father's Day, I set it up to where the kids went to go see where dad went to school and where did he
Oh,
live. And I made them go, I set it up, not made them, but I set it up to where they could all do the BMX track with him because he used to be a BMX rider and champion and all these things. And they need to see who he was and the different stages.
yes.
And I get so heartbroken that the family does not ever do that with
Yeah.
anybody. They just hold everything so close to the chest and I'm like, I want my children to know you,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to push them on you, right? And they're kids. They don't know what to ask you. They don't know what they don't know. And I love family nights and I love gatherings and I literally have been pondering how could I inspire something like this in our gatherings? And I freaking love this idea.
Yes, yes. I've been thinking about it too of like, how can I get my own world here, my community together
Wow.
for this, my family, my friend community. It's just something now that I've just been thinking about, and I have a lot of stories written
Yeah.
and I'd love to share those too. So I'm so glad that hit in a certain
Wow.
way for you.
Can I add one more shift activation?
Yes, sure. I have two more, and then yes, for sure.
And it's probably on your list, but find something to have fun with,
Mm,
right? Even if you're cooking, say you hate freaking cooking, turn on some booty music or something that
yes.
always gets you going, whatever it is. Even if it's like, oh, I want Luther Vandross because I
Mhm.
want to feel all jazzy and sexy and deep voice, like, or if you want Ludacris to shake it low to the ground, like whatever,
I
right?
love it.
Very different spectrums, but
Yes.
find something that typically annoys the F out of you
Mhm.
and see if there's one way to have a little fun or add some humor to it.
Yes, I love
Anything.
that. I think we need to have more play. I think, we can, and I'd love to hear how people are playing.
Yeah.
Like, share with us on Instagram or on Facebook, just how are you incorporating play today in your daily routine?
Yeah.
Or if that's something that you typically do, share it with us so that we can start implementing it. But I think for sure that fun and play aspect is super
Mm-hmm.
important. So thanks for
Yep.
bringing that into the shift activation. So the last two, one is reflective journaling. Write a journal entry exploring the stories that have shaped your identity. Reflect on how these stories influence your beliefs, values, and actions. And finally, research and share cultural stories. Choose a story from your cultural heritage or from a different tradition and learn its significance. Share the story with others, emphasizing its lessons and how it connects your understanding of the role of the storyteller. It's funny, I have certain aspects of our culture that are really within our family. And when I share it with others, it's really fascinating to see how it's received. And
Hmm.
I realize that I don't share those stories enough, that I
Mm.
don't, um, maybe I don't think there's space for it. And now it's like, I'm going to make space for this. We're
Yeah.
going to have a storytelling opportunity, be it virtual, be it in person, because I think this is just a strong tool in our toolbox as we continue to learn and shift as people and as a community.
Maybe you have tell us about it Tuesdays.
Oh, wow. Yes. Yes. I love that. Tell us about it Tuesdays. Well, thank you everyone for listening today. If today's episode spoke to you, we'd love to hear from you. Show some love. Leave us a review and tell us what landed for you in this chapter. Tag us on hashtag Shift Sisters Podcast on your favorite socials, especially when you're writing those stories and sharing all of those wonderful little fun ways that you're implementing in your life. And then share this book chat with someone who's on a similar journey. Thank you for joining us on this sacred conversation. Until the next full moon, keep shifting, keep growing, and above all, keep sharing those sacred stories. All right, bye everyone.